the back of this truck headed for world markets rides the greatest idea ever built with Canadian dollars. But it's a $200 million gamble, and if it isn't successful, it could well become the most embarrassing industrial turkey in Canadian history.
I think we have a winner. Of course, we're designing an all-new aircraft, completely new from the ground up, and there's always an element of risk when you build a completely new airplane. We have three key things going for us. One of them, excuse me just a moment here. One of those items is the design of our wing. We incorporate an advanced technology airfoil and an all-new wing design with our new aircraft design. And this airfoil and wing will permit us to fly faster than other business jet aircraft, and at the same time we will use less fuel.
A new wing, new technology engines, and the widest body in the business. The first aircraft begins to take shape. This corporate gamble evolved out of desperation. A few years earlier, this factory stood almost empty, and Canadair was a company headed for oblivion. The future was riding precariously on the wings of a much different aircraft, the world's only purebred firefighting water bomber. The CL-215 was easily without equal in the business, but the company was lucky to sell 5 bombers a year. General Dynamics Corporation of St. Louis owned this plant. It cost them $5,000 a day just to heat it. Apart from the bomber, they had once built fighters and transports by the thousands, but these government contracts were drying up, and by the early 70s, 10,000 people had been laid off. But General Dynamics was not about to gamble development capital in a foreign country, when its American plants were also underproducing. So they were in a hurry to pull out, and they sold the company to the Canadian government for $37 million, almost nothing. The government talked of bulldozing the building under and selling the land. The company president, a Canadian ex-World War II Spitfire pilot, out from under the heavy thumb of General Dynamics, had other plans.
We had been searching for what kind of a commercial program, and the steady growth rate of general aviation or business aircraft had been remarkably steady over the previous 15, 20 years at a very healthy rate of growth. So this sort of stood out as an area to try and get a new program. And it was with that background and during that time frame that I learned of this Lear concept.
Kearns went out and tracked down Bill Lear, the most famous high-rolling entrepreneur in American business. Lear had won and lost many fortunes in his time, including one built on his tiny business jet. The Lear jet radically altered the business aviation industry and started what is now a diverse and sophisticated international marketplace. But Lear noticed among the gleaming ancestors of his creation a growing crevice. Fuel costs, environmental legislation, and a demand for greater range were making existing models of business aircraft as vulnerable as a herd of dinosaurs. Lear felt that with a new technology aircraft, he could blow the market wide open. He approached the American giants with his idea, but they had big money riding on their existing aircraft, and they hesitated.
There were airplanes available of this general size, but they were old technology. They were 15, 18 years technology, and no one had taken advantage of the current new technology to replace and modernize the business aircraft fleet.
Lear was inspired by the potential of Canadair's enormous plant, while Kearns was infected by Lear's incredible optimism. In the face of all this enthusiasm, the only missing ingredient was a mere $100 million to get it started. They would have to flush out another optimist, willing to risk big money.
But I think that the most interesting part of it is I had to deal with this very fantastic character that was Lear, Bill Lear. We passed away since that time, but I had a long talk with him on the phone only. And it was a fascinating discussion. And he made a few arguments that were very impressive to me and very, he was enthusiastic, and he said, that's a great plane, he said, I've designed. And he said, there's not a bloody American intelligent enough to realize it's good, and I'm quite pleased that you, the Canadians, are interested. He said, look at the magazine, Time magazine this week. They advertised their new Ford, with a Learjet. As you know, the Learjet is a very nicely profiled plane. And he said, I designed it 15 years ago. And when they want to prove that the car is modern, they put it against my plane I designed 15 years ago. And I'm telling you, Chrétien, this plane is a fantastic thing, and you should take it.
Lear had spun his magic, and the phone call had worked. Kearns knew that without the famous American, no one would have listened. He must now commit the company to millions in design studies before the money could be raised and the project launched. From now on, it's going to be easier to promise a great aircraft than to deliver one. To start with, Lear turned out to be more entrepreneur than designer, and to make matters worse, Canadair's brilliant chief design engineer, Harry Halton, lay near death.
I was in the hospital bed, coming out just a few days after an operation, which was within 30 minutes of me not making it at all. And I knew that at the time. So after that, everything was gravy. Everything was a bonus. But at that time, I was still paralyzed from the waist down. So at that point in time, I didn't even know how I'm going to get around.
Halton was another gambler. The doctors said if he returned to work too soon, he would give up any chance of ever walking again. But Halton had been waiting under General Dynamics also, and he wasn't about to let this chance pass. Canadair purchased from Bill Lear an option to study the concept. But Halton's team soon developed some ideas of their own.
Harry, Bill Lear called this morning, and he's upset. Can you give me a summary of what changes we have made?
Well, the biggest change we've made to his airplane, of course, is increasing the size of the fuselage from his 88 inches to what we think is required for a wide-bodied executive jet, and we've increased it to 106 inches. And that makes the airplane a different airplane. And I think that's the main reason why he's upset.
What other changes?
Our major problem is right now this is aft fuselage, and this horizontal comes down like this off the rear fuselage, and we may find that the airplane has stability problems. Probably our biggest concern will be high speed rather than low speed. Now, if we have those type of problems, because see, your engines are sitting right up here on the present configuration, and we may find that if we have the high-speed stability that we would probably go to a T-tail configuration with the horizontal mounted up here. That has some attendant problems, but the T-tail characteristics are well known and can be handled. So this is an unknown at this point in time.
I think we'll have to go from the present 6,500 pounds of thrust to something like 7,500 pounds of thrust.
What's this airplane going to look like?
Well, I think we can make it look real good. I think the proportions can be made right. The length of the fuselage is going to be pretty nice in relationship to the diameter.
Lear hated Halton's notion of using a wide body. He developed the uncomfortable habit of calling it Fat Albert, in public, before finally returning home to Nevada in disgust to develop other ideas.
They usually make an airplane look, you can make an airplane look good with those components designed right.
But Canadian designers have been on to good ideas before,
I think that airplane's
and they haven't always worked out. The Avro jetliner was the first commercial jet built in North America. American Airlines thought it was a fine aircraft. Their test pilot remarked it could be the DC-3 of the jet age. But Canada's Airlines figured they smelled a turkey, and the only prototype wound up as a toy for Howard Hughes. The Avro Aero Supersonic Interceptor, also years ahead of its time, but expensive to develop. After spending $500 million, the government decided on dumping it, along with Avro's brilliant design team. It may be, though, that a chance had come again. Canadair's new aircraft somehow looked like it would fly higher, faster, farther, quieter, and in some cases on half the amount of fuel as the competition. On paper, it looked almost too good.
I think you smudged it.
Kearns found the banks and government in a gambling mood, but there was to be a catch.
Well, it was a key condition for both the government going along with it and the banks, namely that we had to have orders for 50 airplanes, firm orders.
So with only a rough design, they set out to do what had never been done before in business aviation, sell a paper airplane. To sell 50, they would have to promise one hell of an airplane.
Runway's all clear. It's all yours.
So they invited bizjet operators from all over the world to come and tell Canadair what they would want to see in this new generation of aircraft. And maybe they would buy a few at the same time. This novel idea was generated by an American super salesman, hired by Canadair to do the impossible. Jim Taylor put his reputation on the line with Canadair, hoping to influence the design of a new aircraft.
There's been some concern about the size of the baggage door. How big does the baggage door have to be?
He brought with him his own team of marketeers, including Barry Smith.
Frank?
It varies so much.
really
You're going
does.
dark, you're hauling somewhere to one of your plants or something.
I guess the answer
It's,
is as big as you can make it.
Just
Art.
the
Mexican tea
bigger the
cards.
better. That doesn't take out the entire side of the aircraft.
We already have the concern that we have here is, of course, is that somehow that baggage door is going to be tucked under the nacelle. And you've got to be able to load from under the nacelle. But apart from that, I don't think I have any constraint about the size.
Usually aircraft companies are founded by engineers
Wide is,
who just tell the pilots,
does anybody mind?
here's the greatest airplane in the world, now buy it. But it's the pilots who normally choose a corporation's aircraft, and they were flattered that the engineers would bother asking them what they wanted.
In this way, where if you can take it beside you, it's easier to get in.
You almost need to be able to get a washing machine in.
Well,
If you would take a
I tell
dishwasher
you-
or I've had requests for, like in Mexico, for TVs and for washing machines, and I couldn't get it in, for example, in the Grumman. It wouldn't fit. I wanted to buy a Mexican friend a washing machine and dryer. It wouldn't go in.
Well,
So there you are. I
I
mean, there's
suspect
a
that doesn't
size.
really make much.
You were asking a size. There is a size,
A
for
washing
example.
machine requires a pretty large door.
However, we would appreciate if you designed.
Many of the pilots were impressed by Taylor's seminars,
Okay.
so much so they ordered 56 aircraft. Without Taylor's marketeers, Kearns's paper airplane would never have found credibility in the American market so quickly. A paper airplane once almost foolish suddenly began to loom as something unbelievable. and it may have caught a few people by surprise.
In my department, there was some people who were very hot on it, and others who were much more cautious. And I listened to both sides of the argument, and I decided to take the gamble.
Canadair now moved its sales headquarters from Montreal to Westport, Connecticut, right in the heart of bizjet country. Barry Smith describes one of the initial struggles.
And we went through a whole series of permutations over about 90 days. And the name Challenger was selected over some others because it said a lot about the marketing posture that we wanted to take in terms of being aggressive and bold. A challenger is lean and mean and new to the scene and aggressive in the political contest. The incumbent always wants to be the challenger. You never want to be the man at the top. A champion is old, fat, lazy, going downhill. We always want to be the challenger. We selected that name over names like Enterprise, the Swift, words that tended to describe the airplane. Another advantage of the word challenger, the people at the top who were in a position to buy airplanes did not get to the top of the corporation by being a meek fellow. He was a challenging individual.
The Canadian reaction of would-be buyers was quite negative in the sense that they questioned our ability to design and build such a breakthrough airplane. And they repeatedly raised the question, well, if it's such a good idea, why didn't a big U.S. company do it first?
Why do you think that situation exists?
I think it's just part of our national inferiority complex.
We've got two things to convey to the marketplace. First is who the manufacturer is, and then secondly, to generate some excitement about the product. We're dealing with two unknowns. Not only is the product unknown, but the company is unknown in the marketplace as well, so we have to generate interest. So we start off with the first ad that makes some fairly bold claims about the airplane. You can see here we still have the low tail configuration. That didn't quite take us to where we wanted. We wanted something much more exciting, much more competitive. We wanted to get in the top of the buyer's mind. We wanted to become very, very aggressive so that these guys would, when they thought business airplanes, would think of the Challenger. So we came up with something a little more aggressive. Bold, takes it right to the competition, head on, so that the guy who's got one of these airplanes is going to stop and read this. We're trying to get to the top of the buyer's mind. This campaign became even more aggressive. The business jet design so advanced it's making the competition airsick. Very bold, very aggressive. We called it humble arrogance because we had to assume a posture of leadership to get the potential buyer's attention.
The 3,000 feet. 94.
Between the promises of marketing and the realities of engineering, there now developed an ever-widening gap. Selling 56 paper airplanes was a gamble. Canadair had to guarantee performance, price, and firm delivery dates, the first one in less than 3 years. The engineers and craftsmen now began a long struggle to keep the company's marketing promises. The go-ahead marks a turning point for industrial gambles, the point after which there's no turning back. It will take over 8,000 people to build the Challengers, and hundreds of companies. The tail assembly designed and built in Vancouver, the landing gear Ajax, Ontario, the engines Bridgeport, Connecticut. The influence of a single project ripples throughout an entire industry. Success or failure, the stakes are enormous. Canadair, chronically short of engineers and craftsmen, set about tracking down thousands of skilled people, like Stan Wojciechowski. Stan retired when he was 70. That was 10 years ago. He didn't want to retire, but those were the rules. Today, journeyman machinists are in short supply. The rules have changed, and Stan is in big demand. The paper airplane had first become plywood, as the engineers plunged into the third dimension for the first time.
It's really a wooden, three-dimensional drawing.
A hydraulic pump, an actuator, a pulley or hinge that fits on paper doesn't always fit on the real thing, or even on the plywood thing.
This is where we found out if more than one person had chosen the same position to put their part.
I just do not understand why you insist on putting a totally hydraulic system in here with no redundancy from a mechanical standpoint. I mean, even
The Marketeers impressed many, but not all the pilots were impressed by the complexity of the new generation.
I just feel it would be a lot, I'd feel more comfortable with it than depending on this.
A lot of crew members would. The problem with going to a manual reversion system is under the new regulations, you are basically legislated out of going to a manual reversion system. The reason for that is because of some instance of flying, you have to go to a completely dual flight control system. That is, these flight control systems are totally separable. There's a switch on the corner here that if you flip that switch, these control systems are totally separated.
The engineers weren't the only ones working in 3 dimensions, or the only ones building plywood airplanes.
We figure that we've sold probably 35 airplanes directly attributable to having this mock-up available. We've had it all over the United States, Canada, and Europe. It's been one of our most important sales tools, particularly when we're selling an airplane that hadn't yet been built, hadn't yet flown. This filled the void in showing the customer, potential customer, what he would eventually get.
Sales now mount to 73 aircraft. The company moves to triple shifts, 7 days a week, as the designers and craftsmen struggle to keep the pace. The first ones are always the most difficult to build, but it's all figured out on a learning curve.
One of the risks we have with this airplane is the design of the all-new wing. Here you see that risk being converted into actual hardware. This wing is going to permit us to fly faster and use less fuel than other business jet aircraft, and its advanced design also permits us to make the wing thicker, and we can carry all of our fuel in the wing only.
Two months late, the Challenger is already an alarming 3,000 pounds overweight.
All right. Our first, hot off the mold, our first graphite part for the Challenger. Half the weight of Kevlar, 60% of the manufacturing cost. No internal structure, thin-walled.
What about the stiffness?
Well, as you know, our test showed the stiffness was on the high side.
Looks good. Shit. Okay, we obviously don't need stiffness.
Nope, don't need stiffness on it. It's already in it.
When can we get it on an airplane?
2 to 3 weeks of physical testing.
Engineer Conrad Kunze.
On a retrofit
Conrad's specialty is new weight-saving technology. He's hoping to take thousands of pounds out of the Challenger with woven graphite fiber.
The external skin.
If he had his way, he would build the whole aircraft out of graphite.
Looks good.
One of the ways you know that you're being successful not only is by your sales results, but by the competition reacting to what you're doing. Some of the competitors, their advertising started reacting to our advertising. And from a marketing standpoint, that's beautiful because now I'm in a position of what we do determines what our competition is going to do. So we, in effect, can lead our competition wherever we want them to go. Further steps along, here's a Falcon ad. The new Falcon 53 of them flies. They fly, we are not yet flying. But notice the Falcon 50 and you know who, and the headline says, "The Challenger in flight," and there's a picture of clouds but no airplane. He is saying, there is a competitive airplane called the Challenger, and if he hasn't looked at it, the prospect's got to come to us.
This is the Saberliner 65 by Rockwell International.
The aircraft you're looking at is a Hawker Siddeley 125 Series 700.
So there's a great many benefits, really, and many things that the turboprop has to offer that a jet simply cannot.
For what you pay, you get a remarkable cabin coupled with all kinds of performance. High speed, short field runways, long range, and economy.
I was just asked if this airplane would be competitive to the Challenger and the proposed Gulfstream 3. I guess the only way I can respond to that is we're here now, we have an airplane, we know what it will do, and the other two airplanes really are paper airplanes, especially the G3 is a paper airplane, and the Challenger has not yet flown, so we do not know what that airplane will really do. If that airplane meets their specifications, it'll be fantastic.
Are you worried that the Challenger might live up to its specs?
Definitely worried that it might meet their specifications, because I think we all are. If that airplane can do as they claim it will do, it'll be some airplane, but we don't quite see how they're going to get there from here.
Aircraft builders normally like to start with a known quantity, like a proven engine or fuselage, and build a new aircraft around it. The Challenger, with new engine, wing, and fuselage, has few proven quantities. The company, in order to build a radically improved aircraft, started from scratch. Aircraft have been known to fall below the expectation of their designers, perhaps something like a human being with good genes and upbringing, turning out dull.
This is our marketing information computer where we store the detailed records of the various companies that we're trying to track. For instance, if we got a call from Xerox and we knew nothing about Xerox, we would have it displayed on the computer here. Bring up Xerox on the display. So she types in a code sequence which brings up the Xerox company, gives the company name, company address, mailing address, where they're located, goes into the executives that we own, salesman's territory, chairman's name, his birth date. We do send birthday cards out, assuming that we can find out birth dates. We can also use the machine to help us find people who are potential buyers. By developing what we call a customer profile, we can identify that people who own a certain class airplane are the kinds of people who are buying our airplane. So we can then go to the computer and say, tell me everybody who fits this profile.
How many for your personal use?
We don't know yet.
Two young Arabs, Aziz and Mansour OJ, have come to buy 20 Challengers.
We are the distributors for the Middle East of Canadair. That's 23 countries of the Arab League. And we expect to sell those in the territory, which is all the Arab countries. Our company TAG stands for Technique d'Avant-Garde, and we believe in Technique d'Avant-Garde, and this is a perfect example.
Canada has gone ahead and taken the chance of developing an aircraft like this, which is really a new technology, and nobody else has done it.
Today, more and more you see that they're building big planes, jumbo jets, DC-10s, for passengers to make traveling become available to laymen. And the business community, you find it, is more and more pressed for time. And time is money, you know that old saying. And so you find more and more companies, businessmen, everybody who need an airplane, that they don't have to conform with certain hours, when to go and when to come, and wasting time in airports, and they use their airplane as it's a business tool. You need it.
About 80% of all the companies that bought our airplane have annual sales in excess of $1 billion a year. One of the functions of the computer is to generate names and addresses for direct mail. Here we're doing the direct mail on the engine pop-up. And from the computer, the letters are automatically typed. The girl simply monitors what's going on, and then from there we bring the letter over to the signature machine where they're all signed. You'll notice that it signs either Jim Taylor, or if we know the individual by the first name, which we do in this case, if we know the gentleman by the name of Hal, it simply signs Jim. But if we know him only as Mr., it would be signed the more formal Mr. or James Taylor, or Jim Taylor, as he signs his name. We have cams on everybody who's involved in the marketing program so that as they're on the road, they can continue to issue reports or letters to customers and prospects without necessarily being in the office.
Jim Taylor does sign a few things himself, but he spends most of his time trying to keep the market hyped up on his paper airplane. He depends heavily on ceremonial milestones along the way, the latest of which is 3 months late.
Canadair proudly presents you, and to the world, the Challenger.
3 months late, but they made it. Harry and his engineers didn't even want to paint it. It wasted half a day in the paint shop. But now it looks like it was worth it.
Thank you to the management team of Canadair who came to see me when I became the minister, and they gave me 4 weeks to get the money out of the government. I was very lucky that I had just left the Treasury Board at that time, and I was just coming in Industry, Trade and Commerce. So the new president of the Treasury Board was not too much aware of what I was doing. And it's why today we're all here, and I wish to all of you good luck. Hey, vive the Challenger!
I'll smile. I'm having fun.
Congratulations, Gary.
Thank you.
A lot of congratulations for an aircraft that has only rolled a few feet. But then the Boeing 707 actually crashed shortly after rollout. Its wheels collapsed and the aircraft fell on its belly.
Maybe I hope it knows that.
The two young O.J. brothers, Aziz and Mansour, seem to be caught up in the spirit of things, and they buy 10 more.
You're the one who's buying that by the dozen. Yes, yes. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
So you bought 10 more this morning?
This morning, yes.
Yeah.
It was a good occasion to.
What about this afternoon?
Hello, madam. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Beautiful for you.
Mrs. Stephanie Halton has a stake in all of this. Harry admits that without her, he would still be stuck in hospital and a long way from designing an airplane.
Everything comes with luck.
In 3-4 years' time, everywhere you go in the world, you'll see a Challenger. It'll be a proud moment.
How are current prospects for sale?
Well, we're going to be selling more airplanes, but we're not going to be selling them at the rate that we sold them so far because we really kind of sold out.
127 aircraft now sold, worth $673 million. A good cause for celebration. But rollout was a little rushed for the builders, and it's a good thing for the curtains on the windows, because there's nothing much inside. It's an empty tin can months away from the end of the runway.
The runaway leader in business jets is on the runway. We're leading to first flight. It all happens, we no longer a paper airplane the day the airplane lifts off of the sky. Soon the Challenger will fly as the hearts of the competition sink. Still very bold, taking it right to the competitors. At St. Louis, we will do a variation of our theme that would say, soon the sound of the Challenger taking off will be drowned out by the sound of the competition eating their words.
Alas, they had wanted photographs of flying for the big show in St. Louis.
We're expecting a pretty good show. We're going to have the mock-up back there again. We have changed the interior color scheme, so we're expecting a fair number of people to come through mock-up. I guess we're a little uptight relative to the kinds of static we're going to get from some guys because the airplane's 3 or 4 months late. It could go fairly easy, it could go fairly rough. Depends on, just depends on the mood of the guy when he comes up. I'm a little anxious about it. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be fun, but it might be a tough show for us.
First time ever to St. Louis, and I love it. I think it's great. Fantastic, you meet people.
Canadair salesmen once hustled airplanes through grim military corridors and government offices. There's a whole different art to hustling business jets.
The initials NBAA stand for the National Business Aircraft Association. We're holding our 31st annual meeting and convention here in St. Louis, and we have on the exhibit floor 671 exhibit booths. It grows bigger every year. Everything you'll see here on the convention hall is aimed at presenting to the owner and operator of the business aircraft the latest in product.
The other models here are Learjet, Cessna, and so forth, but each of their engineers take their own privacies into consideration when they make their modesty shields.
The wonderful thing about the plane is where the wings are set, unlike many other planes, you can actually stand upright and walk out the door.
Your attention, please. Your attention, please. The associate membership meeting scheduled for 10 a.m. has been moved from 1 to 3.
Whatever gets off the ground, I think it'll be a fine machine.
Well, 316s may not be just quite enough.
Halton has come to help explain why they have not yet flown.
Other problems are on the electrical side, where we found broken pins, where we found malfunctioning parts, where we found the aircraft not being wired to drawing, or in some cases drawing not being right to suit some of the window equipment.
But static from the customer never really materializes.
I thought it was very well done. Very subtle, very easy on the eye.
And few are worried about delays, with a few exceptions. Wendy's hamburger empire builder, Ira Hartzog.
Good to see you again. Yes, sir.
Last time we saw you.
Yes, I met you before, yeah. When am I going to get it?
He's buying a Challenger for his birthday, and he's worried it won't be ready.
Number 50 for my number, so I'd have the down payment for it. But Wendy's hamburgers have done so well, I have the down payment ready. I'm ready for the plane.
I'll sell you another one.
You can give us some money anyway. Just the fact that we don't have the airplane, we'll give you money anyway. But I promise you, you're going to have it on your birthday. I promise you that February the 14th.
All right, and the man says it takes 16 weeks to put the upholds in.
Yes, sir. We're going to have you and your airplane in the sky on your birthday.
All right.
It's a deal, okay?
Good deal.
I promised you that.
That's good enough, Barry.
Okay,
I'll take that. Good. Thank you.
How'd your meeting go with Latimer today? Where do we stand with those guys?
Well, I think we're going to get them, but we got some tough contract changes to make. And I kind of go along with them, you know.
St. Louis, instead of desertions, yields one firm sale and one possible. That is, if a suitable contract can be worked out.
What's the toughies?
Well, number one, the contract is based on the laws of Quebec. And this is an international company, you know. They want the contract drawn up under international law based on the courts of Switzerland. And they're spending $6.5 million green to us, and then they're going to put another $1 million in the airplane. They're going to have a $7.5 million investment. And what do they know about the laws of Quebec?
I just don't think our attorneys are going to know enough to even know where they begin to do a deal on the laws of Switzerland.
We're going to be selling a hell of a lot of airplanes over there. We better get to know the international law.
Oh, that's true.
I think they want the airplane. It's the only airplane that's going to do the job they have to do.
They don't have a choice.
And we've promised them a December 1981 delivery if they'll move by the end of the week.
It is now 6 months since rollout. First flight is 8 months late. In order to make an early rollout, there was a sacrifice made in the schedule. The aircraft had to be taken apart in order for major systems to be installed. Pressure to produce another milestone, to get the aircraft at least briefly into the air, has become intense.
Four snags and we want them fixed today.
Right now we are so close that we can smell it, we can feel it. Everybody's working on it very feverishly. We got engineering involved, we got just about the whole company. Whoever can do something about it, we got them involved. And the idea is to get it within the next few hours, maybe 24 hours out, give it to the pilots, and let him do whatever he wants to do. Run it up and down the runway as fast as he wants, get the feel of the airplane, and then get it up into the air.
The 8086 item.
Engineering, flight operations, experimental, manufacture. Heads of the major departments gather every morning to report problems, solutions, progress and failure, and to hammer out the operating schedule.
Okay, wait. Start weighing at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Now we're going to defuel.
Defuel.
Drain to the track fuel condition.
Absolutely, you all know.
Wait. We'll start weighing 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. How long is it going to take to weigh?
Oh, no.
It takes about half an hour.
Half an hour.
Okay. From 9 o'clock on, you should be able to start engineering inspection.
And that's a 2-hour job. That's a 3-hour job.
3 hours.
3 hour you put that to now?
Why is it going up?
Well, there are 3
Well,
people.
it was always 3.
Yeah,
Was it?
Yeah.
And there are 3 people involved.
Okay.
That's noon tomorrow.
Noon tomorrow.
Canadair's now famous Challenger finally prepares to meet the runway for the first time. But before it can be signed over for flight, it must pass a series of grueling high-speed runway tests. Al Stone, head of experimental engineering, watches on almost like a nervous coach.
Okay. Call for
Well,
a
you know,
makeup
we're
man.
here to work, not to get our picture taken.
Chief Test Pilot Doug Atkins is not as PR conscious as he looks.
I tore the knee out
The
of my
flight
good
crews feel the pressure to fly, but Atkins has said from the beginning they weren't going to be railroaded into the air by marketing or PR.
You got it exactly right.
I never get a chance to, I never get a chance to keep...
This doesn't always make him popular, but then Atkins is more of an airplane man than a company man. And that's probably why they placed a good chunk of the company
Is that all?
in his hands.
We go to work now?
Stone keeps an eye out for trouble. If there is to be a serious accident, it is more likely now than later. Aircraft are a lot less controllable on the ground than in the air. The crew checks brake and tire temperatures. Overheated brakes give off intense heat, and tires during early testing have a way of exploding.
No trial brakes and stuff going down. Just get it, roll it down the other end. We'll do a 104 down the other end. Okay. GCGR 19. Doug, reading from the left-hand outboard, we have 422, 415, 304, 391.
Bones?
Keep getting these things failed.
Decision. Find somebody other than Bones on all these bloody transducers.
This one, the left one, fails consistently, and we've never had a failure of the right side.
Rudder, flaps, ailerons. The pilots work the control surfaces as the aircraft becomes nimble on its wheels, and gives the pilots a few things to worry about.
Observation, noise appears to be underfloor between pilot's bulkhead and observer station, felt structural in character.
Well, I say if we find nothing.
Oh, I realize if we find nothing.
If we find something, we obviously fix it.
Fine.
Eventually, the aircraft becomes more predictable as the endless bugs are finally worked out. Atkins says that he can almost feel when an aircraft is bored of the runway and ready to go.
And now turn.
It has been 3 years since Kern sat next to Halton's hospital bed and talked of Lear's idea. Stephanie Halton was there, and virtually every day since, through a brutal schedule, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week.
From here, we should be about seeing it. He should be taking off at about that place over there, where that 4,000 marker is.
Radio check number 2, VHF.
I don't know. I don't care. I love everybody.
Tower Challenger 1's airborne. We're climbing out straight ahead.
You're just great.
3 years ago, he was dying. And he made it.
The run was a short run. Probably was something like a 3,400-foot run.
Okay, we're leveling at 10,000.
And we're making a right turn. Go ahead. Airplane still feels like it has a slight buffet in it somewhere. Yeah, it could be undercarriage and doors. Check the doors to see if they're vibrating at all. Way out and not too much of a steady state cruise here.
Anything about funny vibrations or worse than very good.
Yep.
Doug is tying everything today.
And they're both retracted now.
Sounds good. Yeah. So far, so good.
Have you learned anything in the few minutes it's been in the air?
No. I didn't really expect it.
26, sir. Old Andrew 26.
Didn't really expect to at this point. According to him, it looks good.
Yeah, the sales department can get back on the road now. We've been hiding for the last 2 months.
How easy do you want it?
Okay, and
The easier the better, Bob.
damned airplane the company's ever built.
Okay, that part of the campaign is over. The airplane is flown. We're no longer a paper airplane. We're a piece of metal. We've taken our last shot at the competition. We've hit them hard for the last time for being on us about being a paper airplane. We have arrived. We have achieved the top level position. We are #1 in the industry.
First flight is a milestone indeed, this time as much for the builders as the marketeers.
Let me say some thank you to the pilots, but thank you to all those that helped to put it in the sky, because it was just a fabulous effort. I personally appreciate it.
But not much can be learned on a single flight, and in a sense it marks little more than the beginning of this struggle to create a great aircraft.
Okay, we're all yours.
Test flying and certification, Mojave Desert, California. Here the first 3 Challengers are pushed beyond their operating range, to the limits of the design.
Horizontal, first bending.
Engineers and technicians study strengths and weaknesses, searching for flaws that can become deadly.
Damping is stable.
Vertical first bending.
After 18 months of test flying, the Challenger has avoided a trip back to the drawing boards. A terrifying trip that can delay an aircraft months, or even years. As customer deliveries approach, performance guarantees are well within sight and well ahead of the competition.
Roger, falling in a line of stern.
Though as with all new aircraft, development will continue for many years.
We've got a slight fluctuation on the left engine. Chase, what do you see? Oh, 2 or 3 little black puffs of smoke coming out. They seem to have gone away now.
The sheets and blocks of aluminum, the hundreds of miles of wires, the ideas and craftsmanship of thousands of people finally come to life within the personality of a single machine. The test pilots talk of high control power, of harmonization of control forces, of good balance and handling, the qualities of a great aircraft. But Adkins brags that this aircraft is gifted with at least tangible qualities. It enjoys flying, if such a thing is possible.